What's up, guys? Welcome to the Rocky and Derrick Show. Today we're in Winston-Salem at the Winston-Salem Cup Museum.
I'd like to welcome Rocky and the Derrick Show to the Winston Cup Museum. And one of the cars that we have here is one driven by Wendell Scott. And Wendell Scott is from Danville, Virginia, or was from Danville, Virginia, and he was a local hero in many ways. And he got his driving career because of a local track promoter in Virginia went to the Virginia Highway Patrol and wanted to know who was the best moonshiner in the state of Virginia, or who was the best driver in moonshining in Virginia. And the Highway Patrol told the track promoter, he says, well, there's only one man. And they said, who's that? Wendell Scott. And they said, well, why Wendell Scott? It's because we've never caught him. So Wendell was brought up as a hard-working man. He was self-employed and he was a moonshiner, and from that he became a race car driver, and he competed in over 500 races in NASCAR in his career with very little sponsorship and a lot of support from his friends at the racetrack. And this car here is a 1971 Mercury Cyclone that Wendell bought from a gentleman named James Hammer Mason that built cars for Ford in the 60s. He built lightweights for Ford Motor Company. And Mr. Mason participated in NASCAR and had run this car a couple of times with some other NASCAR drivers. And Wendell was able to purchase this car from Mr. Mason. And its first race was the Winston 500 in 1973. And in 1973, Bill France started 60 cars at Talladega, and there was a 19 car pileup somewhere around the 8th lap of the race, and Wendell was caught up in the wreck. And the car is actually, as it was, wrecked in 1973. My mother's from Danville, Virginia, and when I was doing the museum, one of the things that I realized was that, you know, Wendell, being a black driver, being an independent car owner, his career paralleled Junior Johnson's in so many ways, but it was more colorful. He had so much energy, and his sons helped him work on the race cars, and there's some great pictures. You can go online and look at Wendell with his sons at Talladega, actually with this car. So Richard Petty's number was 43, and Wendell's was 34. And Richard's colors were always blue and white, and in the reverse, Wendell was red and blue with 34 numbers. And the number actually looks like on the other side of the car, just like Richard Petty's number. We do have a Richard Petty car, but it's not here right now. I was going to use a comparison. But this car was so advanced at the time, it has an airplane fighter seatbelt system that cinches the seat, that pulls the seat belts tighter. It had an advanced oiling system for the engine. The car was what we call, it was built from a body in white, and that's pretty much, you would take the manufacturer's car that was manufactured from the windshield back, and then you would build the roll cage inside the car and then skin the car. The front clip of the car is a factory stock Mercury or Ford front clip. It had big 12-inch drum brakes on it, and this car at Talladega would run 200 miles an hour down the front and back stretch. The history of the car for me is, people say, well, why don't you restore it? Well, would you restore the Titanic? No. The history is here and what Wendell was able to accomplish. So this was the last car that he drove in competition. It pretty much ended his career. He was in the hospital in Alabama for about 6 to 7 weeks. He broke a bunch of ribs, he broke his pelvis, and you can see the damage on the car and the driver's seat and the way the steering wheel, it's exactly as it was when he wrecked it, and it still has the Lord's Prayer on the dash. So a unique piece of history. Also, we have that's not here at the museum, but I have his 55 Dodge with a DeSoto Hemi with a flatbed on it that he used to haul all his race cars to the racetrack. And they always said Wendell was running late and he was driving 100 miles an hour in that truck to get to the racetrack. So this history to me is probably one of the most important pieces to the museum because of his independence and who he was. And he was, you know, he was self-made, and he got a job because he was a hell of a damn moonshiner. Thank y'all for coming to the museum. And like I said, we're open Thursday through Saturday, 10 to 5. We do special events, and you can also go to the website, winstoncupmuseum.com. Wendell was one of those people that he never quit what he started, and he did a magnificent job being a race car driver. And because of his ability to drive and haul moonshine, he became a famous NASCAR driver in my book. Thank y'all.